in a little game. He said, I charged the same woman every month for 4 prosthetics just to see. He said, I don't know if she needed any or one or none. He said, they never caught it. He said, I did it month after month. He said, so yeah, you got me and you're going to put me in jail for 12 years. He said, at $400,000 a month, I can stay there a while. He said, the main thing is I still have my mailing list, and I'm going to rent my list to someone else while I'm in jail, so I'm going to make a lot of money in jail too. So even if he's going to jail, the fraud continues. That's 20%. That approaches $90 billion for one program and $60 billion for the other. And we're talking about cutting a total of 61 up here. Americans are fed up. They're afraid of the future. They're afraid of what they see being unleashed here. They're frightened that we're printing so much money to try to make the scheme work. And they're saying enough is enough. Now, I believe that we can make cuts without cutting programs that are essential to people. And I do not think that we should do things which harm those neediest in society. But there are many, many programs where we can make the cuts, and we should. The outcome, if we don't, is extreme. The outcome, if we don't, is the loss of the economic status of this nation. The Soviet Union broke into small pieces, small countries. You're seeing states right now nervous and anxious about the future of the federal government. So they're beginning to say, we're going to take that function on ourselves. We're not going to trust that the federal government can fix this. They themselves are in terrible shape. The biggest shame of all in this is that in a time when we're struggling to balance our budget, to just make ends meet for our nation, the government is conducting the greatest war on our jobs. The government is raising taxes high enough to push companies out of this country. President Obama said in his State of the Union message that we must address the fact that we're overtaxing corporations. He said we're one of 2 of the highest in the nation, and since then Japan has decreased, so we're left alone in that. We are overregulated. We're regulating companies out of existence. Every time we kill a job through regulation, and I would point to the timber industry was been killed by regulation. I would point to the jobs offshore where that rig had its problems this year off the coast of Louisiana. I think that BP should be accountable, and they are paying the bill for what happened. But we should not have killed those jobs, because every job we killed lowers the 2.2, and it puts people on welfare, unemployment, and the 3.5 increases. We cannot cut enough spending to get 3.5 to 2.2. We instead must go and recreate the jobs that our government has systematically killed and rebuild our economy, rebuild the manufacturing base so that when we put people to work, they begin to pay taxes and we begin to not have their cost in government. In that case, we're growing the economic base, we're growing the revenues of the government, and simultaneously we're cutting the cost of the government. The only thing that makes sense for us in rescuing our economy is for us to grow the job base. And at a time when we are alarmed at what we're seeing economically, then we find the government most hostile to new jobs. Just recently, within the last week, we've been in discussions with the Fish and Wildlife Service, who out of the blue decided to list a lizard as endangered in our state. They cannot declare that it has different DNA from the lizards that are not being put on the list. In other words, it's just a variety of a lizard, not all lizards. And they can't show a DNA difference, so over some small, minute difference, they're going to possibly shut down all of the oil and gas wells in southern New Mexico. That means more people on welfare, more people on unemployment. It means fewer people paying taxes. Up in the northwest part of the state, the EPA recently put out a ruling that would cause 3 of the 5 generators in one generating station to shut down. So at a time when we're facing rising utility costs, we're facing rolling blackouts, we're going to put 3 generators offline, Since they're doing that, they're going to require less coal, and now then 200 coal miners who live on the Navajo Indian Reservation making $60,000 a year are going to no longer be working and paying taxes. They're going to be drawing unemployment and be on Medicaid and be on welfare, TANF, food stamps. One would say that our government will not and cannot kill industries, and yet they killed the entire timber industry. New Mexico used to have 20,000 jobs in timber, and today it has none because of a spotted owl, a regulation that could have been done differently, but instead was used to stop all the logging in every forest in New Mexico. We believe that's wrong. We believe that we can keep the species from going extinct and create the logging jobs again. So we've submitted a bill that would do that. I would draw our attention also to the fact that 27,000 farmers in the San Joaquin Valley in California were put out of work because of a 2-inch minnow that could have been kept alive in holding ponds and put over in the river. But an extreme decision said that it's either the jobs or the minnow, and they chose the minnow. We're putting our economic system at risk by systematically killing industries and jobs in this country. And that's the reason you have the frustration that is expressing itself in tea parties across the nation, taking to the streets and saying, our government is too strong, it's too powerful, it's time for us to live within the restraints of the Constitution. So as I wrap up my time here tonight, we again talk about the need for the Constitution to limit the government, to limit the government's ability to come in and affect your freedoms in your life. This country has been in the past the destination for anyone who wanted freedom to build their dreams here. They could come and do it. We're beginning to choke off the ability for even our own citizens to find their dreams and make them come true here. We're doing it one business, one industry at a time through taxation, through regulation, but more we're doing it through the unstable currency that we're creating through the printing of money. It is time for us to get our fiscal house in order. It is time for us to recognize that the future is at risk, according to the OMB and the CBO both. If we don't act now, then we will not have an economic future any stronger than the Soviet Union. So it's my hope that we will begin to act as Americans today, not as Republicans or Democrats, to look at the challenges that we face, to take them on, and to address them in ways that the American people say, yes, that is an appropriate action, that is a correct action. It's my sincere belief that our best days are ahead of us, because I believe the American people are going to insist that we take care of the economic mess that we in Congress have created over the last 70 and 80 years. We've begun to make promises that we can't keep with money that we don't have. We must correct it, and I would yield back the balance of my time.
Thank you. The gentleman yields back. Under the Speaker's announced policy of January 5th,